Well, hello, my dear friends. Justyn Smith here, and I want to thank you so much for joining us once again as we're moving our way through the Bible chapter by chapter. Today we are in 1 Samuel chapter 15 with the series God at Work, and we want to give you this topic entitled today, It Hurts When Others Fall. It hurts when others fall. I don't want any of us to be the type of person that gets some type of pleasure out of another person falling flat on their face. We want to be here for the help to other people, to bear somebody's armor like we talked about in the last broadcast, and to be their friend in the battle. Or if somebody is already fallen and we come to them, we want to help restore them and reconcile them, to be a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Now, my name is Justyn Smith with the Heart for Revival Ministries, and I'm so glad that you're here with us listening to this broadcast today. But we do have another place online that you can visit, unless you are watching this sermon through our website, that where you can find out more information about us. It's called heartforrevival.com. So to find out more information, sermons, online giving, or to schedule a future meeting, you can join us on our website. And most importantly, would you lift us up in your prayers and ask God for great and mighty things. Now, in our message today, we are talking about God being at work. It hurts when others fall. And in this particular chapter, we're going to find the fall of a very great man, a fall of one who was selected by God to fulfill a great task, a very special position, to be the first king of Israel. Now, it wasn't God's plan for Israel to have a king. The people desired to be like other nations, and God allowed that particular thing to follow through and to happen. So let's jump into point number one. The Lord revealed truth to Samuel. Okay, now let me start right here and say that if there's any person that I want to be in this passage, I would want to be the one like Samuel who is receiving the truth to help somebody back to where they need to be, or to realize where they are at. But the reality is we all are going to need a Samuel in our life at some point who is willing to share with us the truth. Now here's the verse. In 1 Samuel 15:10, then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying. Now that's very simple, okay? But that verse needs to be mentioned because the Lord was speaking to his man truth. Truth about Saul, truth about the situation. Now that leads to point number two. The Lord revealed Saul's rebellion and disobedience. Look at verse number 15 with me. It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me, and hath not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. I want to leave that verse up there for just a second, because I want your eyes to rest on the last part of verse number 11. Samuel was not like, oh yeah, I've noticed this about Saul too. Go get him, God. Yeah, you bring your judgment down. No, Samuel was grieved in his heart. Samuel cried unto the Lord all night. And believe me, dear friends, if you are close to somebody, and if you truly care for that somebody, you're not going to be sadistically happy when they fall in rebellion and disobedience. You're not going to throw in the towel on God, because you're not trusting in that person to be your guide and leader. You're trusting in God ultimately. You're thankful for the leaders that you have in this life, and you respect them, and you honor them, and you follow them, but your dependence is not upon them. Now, as you consider what Samuel did, he wept all night. And I want you to realize that when somebody falls, it hurts. When somebody who has been faithful to a specific position falls, there is a crushing weight that happens in people's lives. And I want to commit, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to crush somebody else. I realize that that lies within me, that ability to crush somebody else's life emotionally. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be guilty of that. And there could be Samuels that look at me and then begin to cry all night because of the decisions I've made. I don't want to be that kind of person, okay? I want to be the Samuel in this person who's willing to weep over somebody else, though. I want to try to go to them and help them. It does hurt when other people fall. Listen to point number 3. The Lord's revealing brought great grief to Samuel. Now, we've talked a little bit about this at the end of verse number 11. It grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. When you think about verses like in the book of Proverbs, where it talks about not grieving your mother, not being somebody who is a grief to your parents and others around you by the decisions that you make. And I don't want to be a grief to my pastor or spiritual leaders. I don't want to be a grief to my spouse or my children. I don't want to be a grief to my parents, even though I am older. And I look at this situation and realize that Samuel is the one who is grieving over the one that he had the privilege of putting in position. And the reality is Samuel's going to get a chance to put somebody else in position, but he is nearing the end of his life. And I know that every single person that can relate in the work of the ministry today, they want to be able to see some youth come up after who are going to be faithful and they're going to stick to the stuff. And so it's grieving Samuel that the leader in their kingdom has made some horrible mistakes in rebellion and in disobedience, which leads to point number 4. Samuel could see right through Saul's lies because of the truth. And I want you to pause right there and consider, couldn't Saul have told the truth? Couldn't he have been like David, who down the road would sin, and when Nathan would come to him, he would be like, you know what, this is me, this is what I have done, and I am foolish and I am wrong. It could have been like that. But Saul wasn't like that at this point. Saul was lying through his teeth. Listen to verse number 12. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And so we understand that these lies are going on, these falsehoods are being shared, and Saul and Samuel's relationship is being, hindered. In point number 5, Saul thought he could pull one over Samuel. Saul thought that he can convince Samuel that he was not the one in error as Samuel thought he was. Listen to verse 13. Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord. And that verse goes hand in hand with both point 4 and point 5, where Samuel could see right through Saul's lies because of the truth, and Saul thought he could pull one over. When Saul was willing to lie to a spiritual leader, he was willing to lay everything on the line and act like everything was okay and say this is how it is okay, hoping that Samuel wouldn't have enough discretion and wisdom to see the reality of it. But even if Samuel could never understand the lies of Saul, there is one who is so much greater, who already knew the condition of Saul's heart. Which leads to point number 6. Saul was even convincing himself that he was doing what was correct. And be reminded, our topic and title is It Hurts When Others Fall. And in this kind of point right here, it hurts when we can see through the lies of somebody else, and they're so convincing that they are starting to convince themselves of this lie and that they are doing what is correct even though they are not. And that's what hurts even more. Listen to verse 20. Saul said unto Samuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord hath sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. And so Saul is saying, I have done the work. I've destroyed Amalek. I am honest and full of integrity. And number 7, Samuel's reproof and reminder is given, and it still is hurting Samuel to notice the lie and the trickery and the deception and the convincing and sin that Saul is living after. Listen to verse 22 and 23. And Samuel said, Hath the Lord his great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. Could you imagine hearing those piercing, powerful words from one of your spiritual friends, but your spiritual father, if you will, the leader in your life that you have communicated so much with, the one who chose you to be king, the one whom I'd hope that you'd look up to and say, wait a second, I want to do right in their sight. But now Saul is willing to even lie to the one that is his spiritual leader. But listen, God was at work. Even through all of this, it hurts when others fall, and God is ultimately going to raise up a person who has a heart after his own heart, and it's going to be King David, and we're going to find this out in the chapters to come. Now, as we consider that very topic, it hurts when others fall. Let's do two things. Number one, let's not be the one who hurts others because we fall and we choose to disobey, which could possibly end up in this like downward spiral effect of convincing ourselves that we are honest and truthful when we're really not. So let's make a decision that we are going to be full of integrity, honesty, and truthful. We are going to tell the truth if we've messed up, and we are going to be those who hopefully show a pattern of good works instead of evil works. And then if we are on the side of Samuel, let us live according to the words of Jesus Christ and be involved in the ministry of reconciliation. Let's help somebody back to where they need to be. And like Paul exhorted the Galatians to be those who restore. Ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is strength under control. You and I can move through the hurt, and we can help somebody. Thank you so much for listening. I trust that today's chapter, 1 Samuel chapter 15, has been an encouragement to you with whatever is going on. Let's keep praying. Let's not give up. Let's stay faithful. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and please make sure to join us on our next broadcast.